Many of us are aware that buying your first home presents many challenges, largely due to the upfront cash required to enter into a real estate transaction.
And today, I'm going to provide you with some solutions for this problem.
In recent news, a federal jury ruled in favor of the sellers in real estate transactions. Many sellers had been misled into believing that they were required to pay the commission of the buyer's agent. Oftentimes in real estate transactions, the proceeds that a seller receives from the sale of their home goes to pay the commissions of the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. However, this has never been a requirement.
What this could do is make it even harder for a first-time home buyer to purchase a home. Because if you're a buyer and you have an agent, and now you have to pay your agent's commissions versus the seller normally paying that, now it's just increased your total cash out of pocket again. But whatever the case is, it just increases that buyer cost and a barrier to entry to home ownership. Okay.
If you're curious how we got to this point, I have another video that I'm working on that's going to explain the history of real estate as a profession and how we got to this point, where there's disagreements and issues over who's paying whose commission. So stay tuned, make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss that video coming up in the next couple of weeks. So Emmett, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that your first-time buyers have faced and what you've done or advised them on to help them with those?
First-time home buyers face a lot of challenges. I mean, the list could be quite long. But I would say the first challenge is this. They don't know where to start. Your first place you should start is with your agent, and your agent's going to say, hey, I know somebody that could help you, whether it's a bank or a lender, to get started with, well, what is my credit score? That's your very first important step. You have to know your credit score. Well, what's my monthly budget? That's your second step. You have to know what your monthly budget is. Your third step, and this one's actually really, really important, is do I have money for a down payment, and do I have money for closing costs? So those are the real unique challenges for first-time home buyers. One is they just don't know what they don't know. And two is it does take money, generally speaking, to buy a home. There are a lot of options for first-time home buyers, and we're going to go over those next.
So Emmett, tell us a little bit about the types of loans that are available to first-time home buyers.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I get this question quite often, actually. But really, there's like 4 different loan types available to a first-time home buyer. One of those loans is something we refer to as a USDA loan, or in short, rural development. What this is 100% financing of the sales price, so there is no down payment requirement. There are restrictions to this program, however, and one of those is a geographic restriction, meaning you'd have to be probably south of Deer Flat Road, or there are some spots in Middleton and Star, or west of Chicken Dinner Road for a USDA loan. That's a geographic restriction, and there are some income restrictions to that loan as well, but it is 100% financing. There's a VA loan, and again, if you're a first-time home buyer, you can use your VA eligibility, but you have to be a veteran. So if you're not a veteran, this program is not available to you, but if you are, again, 100% financing of the sales price, which is equal to no down payment. One program that's been around forever, I mean, I've done home loans for 22 years, but this program has been a staple. It's called an FHA loan. The reason it's so popular is it's super flexible. It's 3.5% down. You don't have to have perfect credit for an FHA loan. And most first-time home buyers, because, let's just say of their age, they're not going to have an 800 credit score because they have very thin credit. The last loan type is called a conventional loan, which typically is at least 5% down, but as a first-time home buyer, you could only have to have 3% down. Again, let's say we're talking about a $400,000 sales price. 3% of $400,000, that's $12,000 down. You're like, great, I have $12,000 in my bank account right now, let's go buy a home. A lot of first-time home buyer programs available to you. There are restrictions. Each one of them has a little bit of a different caveat, whether it's an income restriction or geographic restriction, and some of them actually require that you truly be a first-time home buyer. Happy to go over more of those loan programs as we need to.
Very cool. Well, the other thing is, so not only do you have to come up with that down payment, but there's also closing costs involved when you buy a house.
True.
So what if I don't have $12,000 in the bank? And what if I'm having a hard time actually saving up that much money? Because, you know, life happens and we save up and then all of a sudden something comes up and our bank account gets drained. So is there anything available to help these first-time buyers if they can't actually save up that large of an amount all at once?
Yeah, great question. Again, yes, there are options to get down payment assistance. And here in the Treasure Valley, we use Idaho Housing. What does this agency do? Well, you're a first-time home buyer, and they say, we will give you up to 7% of the sales price for down payment or closing costs, whatever else you need to use those funds for, in order to not spend $10,000 of the $12,000 you have in the bank. Because I always recommend to keep some money in the bank as reserves, as a prudent lender should. That's why we go to these housing and finance agencies, and Idaho Housing is the one that serves us. It's a great tool, great resource, and it can be used with conventional FHA, VA, or USDA. So you combine the Idaho Housing funds for down payment and closing costs with these types of loans in order to help offset that burden of a down payment and or closing costs. I'm a general consumer here, and I'm thinking, well, you're the agent, and my first question would be to you, what are some of the implications of this lawsuit? What's going to happen if the seller can no longer pay these commissions, and then they're asking the buyer to pay the commissions? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. And this is something that we're still working through, that everybody's trying to figure out as things are shifting and changing in the market. Because as a real estate agent, it is illegal for us to steer, meaning if there's a house that's a good fit for you, but the seller is not willing to pay my commission as your buyer's agent, I still have to show you that house. It's illegal for me to not show you a house just because they're not willing to pay the commission. But as you were just explaining to me, some of these lending programs actually do not allow the buyer to pay the agent.
Correct. I mean, there are some of the federally backed loans like FHA, VA, or USDA, they don't allow a buyer to pay commissions on behalf of a realtor, whether that's a selling realtor or a listing realtor. So I think there's going to be a lot of things that come out of this. I've heard a lot of things on the lending side of, oh, hey, well, what we'll do is we'll finance the buyer's real estate agent's commissions into the loan. And again, that's just been one proposal or hypothesis that I've heard. But the real estate dynamic and the market is changing greatly, because I know if I'm a consumer, I'm going to you as my real estate agent. I'm like, I want to be represented, and if I need to compensate you, how do I do that? It's not fair for you to show me all these homes and give me your best professional opinion and not be compensated. So we'll see what happens. A lot of things unwind here, but I do think at the end of the day, there will be more resolution and some other options in order to combat this issue that we're having.
Absolutely. And that is also why it is extremely important to make sure that you are building a team around your home goals, having a good lender that you love working with, having an agent that you know and trust and want to work with, because together we can figure out the solutions to any of the issues that you may be facing as a first-time buyer.
Thank you for being, I couldn't say it any better than that, but I will echo everything you're saying. The communication, we talked about what's a barrier for a first-time home buyer, and I can tell you, if you don't have a good working relationship between your lender and real estate agent, that communication piece is missing. Something's going to happen in that transaction because you didn't go with a local real estate agent, because you didn't use a local lender, and all of a sudden you go from, oh great, we're going to move in on December 24th to, hey, I'm sorry you didn't get the home. Because of miscommunication. I've seen it happen a lot of times. Somebody's using Rocket Mortgage or Rocket Home Loans, whoever they are. Maybe they're using Rocket Real Estate. Again, we just like having this local lender relationship, realtor relationship, and the local knowledge in order to direct you to have the best possible experience and get you into a home. That's our goal. Honestly, the biggest challenge I have for first-time home buyers is they just don't know.
Yeah,
they
don't
know. And they don't know their debt to income.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, but I make $50,000 a year, and then my grandma gives me $100 a month, and then I actually co-signed with my brother on his car loan just 6 months ago, but I don't pay it; he pays it. All those things can affect a first-time home buyer when they're ready to buy a home. So really know what you have on a monthly basis, and it's done by line item.